My name is Mike. I'm an alcoholic. Amen. And I'm sober through the grace of God in the program Alcoholics Anonymous. Before I start, let me take a moment. Thank you. Before I begin, I'd like to give a couple minutes to authority or the permission to pull my chain if my ego come out of check up here. And Frank, Mark, Steve, Donnie back there, you guys know me best. And if my ego show up, one of you guys kind of come up, pat me on the shoulder. And the reason I say that, the three gentlemen in the back from Connecticut, they walked in and I shook their hand, asked them where they're from. They said Connecticut. I said, man, they come all the way down here to hear me? I'm like, oh, Jesus. And the day when I was home, I was making my speech at home. And 30 minutes in my speech, I'm still writing thank you ideals, who I'm going to thank for having me up here and saving my life. And, you know, like I'm picking up an award up here, you know. Boy, my ego been out of check. So, gentlemen, you know, call me out on it. Also, thank you, Carlisle, and Keep It Sober group. I am a member of this group, and I'm grateful to be here tonight. And, man, this is an awesome deal. This is awesome, man. To be sober and a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and as one of our members say all the time, not just a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, but a member of society, you know. I found my place here. And I am an alcoholic that believe I had these isms before I took my first drink. And I kind of can line that up with the big book. And, you know, long before I took my drink, my first drink, I had all the things that it says, restless, irritable, discontent. I already had those things about me. Maladjusted to life, full flight from reality, outright mental defect. You know, I used to want to agree with that stuff, but the truth is the truth. I had a lot of stuff going on inside of me as a young man, a little boy, and alcohol was my solution when I finally found alcohol. My grandmother was a bootlegger. I was raised in Hamlet, North Carolina. I seen a lot of people get drunk, get cut, get shot, stabbed, that kind of stuff. I grew up with that. And the last thing I wanted to be was the alcoholic. And I promised her I wouldn't drink. I promised I wouldn't be an alcoholic. I wouldn't be like any of those men. And that's what happened. I turned out just like those guys. But when I was young, I would see guys come to the house and they would buy beer, buy liquor, and I wanted to investigate it as a kid, and so that's what I did. I would sneak a little bit, but it didn't have any effect to me. I was just doing it because I seen other people do it. I remember, though, I had this thing inside of me. I felt bad. I really felt not loved. I felt like I was being abandoned. And what happened, and I wasn't but 3 years old, but now I'm like 5 or 6, and I was carrying this thing. My mother allowed my grandmother to raise me, and I grew up thinking my grandmother was my mom. And when I found out, everything kind of shifted in my head. And instantly I had this thought process that she didn't love me. She didn't want me. I wasn't no good. Those things we think about, the ism part, always those thought processes. So, therefore, my father wasn't there neither. And so that just made it a little bit like what I said, abandoned, wouldn't feel love. And so I grew up around that and got warnings, strong warnings, just like Bill said. But somewhere in there, I needed something. I would go to school and I felt like the only kid in there. I was afraid of everything. I couldn't connect with nobody. I had no kind of life skills. I had nothing. And I just felt lonely, afraid, and abandoned. And so by the time I was 10 years old, my grandmother was drinking beer. She would allow me to go to the refrigerator, get her beer, and I would open that beer, bring it to her. First, she would let me take just the suds off. And I remember the first couple of times, sip the suds, and, you know, just pretty good, you know, sip the suds. And the sips kept getting bigger and bigger. And it wasn't long after that, maybe a year or so, my grandmother said, Mike, when you go to the refrigerator, get me a beer. Don't open my damn beer. I was taking more than a sug. I was taking that big swallow, and I could feel it burn the back of my neck, that tear run out my eye, and I loved that. But still and yet, at that time, the effect hadn't kicked in. My grandmother ended up dying when I was 13, and I separated any thought process of God at that time, because if I knew if God loved me, why would he take the one person in this world who did love me, my grandmother? Why would he take her from me? And so from that, I started blaming God for everything that went wrong in my life. Still and yet, the effect hadn't kicked in. I can't tell you exactly when it was, 14, 15 years old, but I remember feeling the relief from life after taking a few drinks. By then, like I said, my grandmother had died. I was stealing beer and stuff. We had a company down there, Pat's Blue Ribbon Beer Company, and gang us boys would run by there and we'd snatch a few beers off the truck. And we finally got caught, and one of the guys in the neighborhood knew me. He said, boy, you stupid. He said, why? I said, we just doing what kids do. He said, man, he said behind the building, we throw away all the beer we can't use. When it come down the assembly line, they get cans dented up. We just throw them out back there. Now, that wasn't nothing to tell a young alcoholic, Because I spent the rest of that summer behind that building in the woods drinking hot beer. I was supposed to be going to practice in baseball, football practice, and I'd be back there drinking that beer. And it did something for me and something to me that I needed. It helped me fit in. It helped me cope with life. It got me out of my own head and where everything was okay. And so that's how it went on for years there. I ended up playing a lot of sports, football, baseball. I had dreams becoming a professional football player or baseball player, and I got pretty good at it. By the time I was in high school, I was hitting home runs. I was leading the team in home runs. I went to North Dakota, played in the Little World Series up there, and I remember we got beat. Now, this is like 16, 17, 18-year-old guys, and we get beat up there, sent back home. And I'm on the plane, and the stewardess come to me. She said, somebody want to see you in first class. And so I go up to first class, and I'm sitting down talking to this guy, and I'm just thinking he's another scout, just another scout. And he's telling me how good of a hitter I am. I hit 2 home runs up there in 2 games, and but I wouldn't hit the outside pitch. And he's telling me about hitting this outside pitch. Most of my home runs come in the outside. And I'm thinking, man, will this guy finish talking to me? I hope he hurry up talking to me. I want to go back to my seat. And so I kind of brushed him off a little bit. And I go back to my seat, and my coach asked me, so you know who you just talked to? I said, no. He said, you sure? I said, I'm sure. And then he told me, so you just talked to Roger Maris. Roger Maris, 61 home runs, broke Babe Ruth record in 1961, and I'm brushing him off. But see, the reason I was brushing him off back then, I don't know what it is like on a plane now. I hadn't got on a plane since then. But the stewardess is coming down the aisle, and they got this little mini bar, and they got these little bottles of liquor on it. And all I could think about when they get to me, I'm going to distract her. When she turned to the other side, I'm going to get me a couple bottles of this liquor. Now, that's what I was thinking about 18 years old, how I'm going to steal liquor on an airplane, how I'm going to drink this liquor. And so that's kind of how my life went on. Alcohol was the most important thing. After that, I had a scholarship to go up to Tennessee to play up there, football, baseball. I went up there for a couple of days, stayed. The fear got so great, I left, and I was drunk before I got back home. And that was another opportunity. I kind of just blew out the window. I had a tryouts with the Dodgers, with the Braves. And I don't tell you all these things to tell you how good I was in sports. I just tell you these things so you can identify what alcohol cost me in my life. And the day I was supposed to get up and go to tryouts with the Braves, I got so drunk I couldn't get out of bed the day before. And so I couldn't go to that tryouts. Now, these are lifelong dreams that I had had, but I couldn't participate in them because of alcohol. And so it wasn't soon after that, opportunities went away. scholarships went away, and what I ended up selling for is a job working at a cotton mill in Hamlet, making $9.35 an hour. I don't say that like something wrong with working hard for a living or a cotton mill or whatever. I just say that's where I ended up. And what happened there, I worked third shift where I had the freedom to drink all day and I could do whatever I wanted, and I was happy. I had arrived. I got a little car, and I was making good money. I was from the projects area, so Hamlet, never had anything, and all of a sudden I'm making $9.35 an hour every 2 weeks, about $700. I thought I was set for life, and what I found out, I was in trouble, big trouble. But what happened, my drinking got worse and worse and worse. And I ended up getting a DUI, and I got permission to drive back and forth to work. That was my first DUI. And it wasn't long after that, after I got that car, I was a full-blown alcoholic, and I was working with some guys like to drink and party like me. And as I said, every 2 weeks we got paid. And the thing that I always had in my mind when I was a little boy outside of playing professional ball was always going to Myrtle Beach. And the truth was, it was bikinis, beer, and the beach, and I just always wanted that experience to go down to Myrtle Beach. And so here it is. I got a car, I got plenty of money, and so we're gonna go to Myrtle Beach. And so the first time we did this in that year after school, I got to Bennettsville, South Carolina, which is probably a stone's throw from where I lived in Hamlet there. So I didn't get very far, and I got a DUI. And they locked me up, locked the car up, let the boys go. And so a couple weeks later, we decided to go to Myrtle Beach again. And I think we got to Wallace, South Carolina that time. I got a DUI, locked the car up, locked me in the car up, and locked the boys up. A couple of weeks later, we did the same thing. I got another DUI and locked me up, let the boys go. I got 5 DUIs trying to get to Myrtle Beach. I never got to Myrtle Beach. Never got there. And that was my one goal, to get to Myrtle Beach, bikinis, and have a good time with my drinking. Also, I'd say this early. I ended up with 12 DUIs altogether. I had been to court for like 20-something of them. 1994 or 5, I got a letter from the state of North Carolina saying I would never drive again in this state. But the grace of God in this program changed that. I drove here tonight with license, and because I drove a lot of time without license. But along that time, I noticed everything was getting really, really, really bad. Matter of fact, that job, working there, I kind of lost that job at one of those DUIs. They locked me up and I couldn't go to work. And so the lady who I was dating in high school, she decided it'd be a good idea if we get married. So she asked me, would I marry her? And I said, why not? Why not? What I got to lose, I needed somebody. I needed somebody to take care of me. So we got married, and we made a I made a promise to her that we're going to change. I'm going to change, and everything's going to be different. I'm going to stop drinking, and my life and everything it's going to be good. And but I knew I couldn't do it in Hamlet or Rockingham, so I decided to move to Charleston, South Carolina, and make a new beginning. And the day we loaded up the car, we went to Charleston, South Carolina. Got to Charleston, Goose Creek, and I got pulled over, and I got locked up that day for a DUI. Now, I'm leaving Hamlet, Rockingham, so I can make a new beginning, and the day I get there, I get a DUI. And so my mother and my wife thought it was a good idea if they leave me in jail, and I imagine it would have been a good idea. She was tired of bailing me out, and so I needed some time to think. And in South Carolina, you do 30 days or you pay the fine. And I did 30 days. But it wasn't. I thought it was going to be like Rockingham and Hamlet. I thought I was going to get to lay up and watch TV and eat 3 meals a day, and everything was going to be good, I thought 30 days, no sweat. South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, the next day you in there, you got a sling blade and an axe, and you cutting some rows in a swamp, and you got alligators and snakes to fight. And you did that constantly all day long. So it was a good lesson. I swore up and down I would never drink again. I really meant it. I meant that thing. This is it. Here I am, a guy, a year before that, standing at the door of going to play professional baseball and going to school. And I'm down here in the swamps of Charleston, South Carolina, fighting alligators and snakes. I'm like, Jesus. You know, my drinking had took downhill, of course, quick. So I decided, once I got out of there, I said, I'm not going to drink no more, and I really meant it. I mean, from the bottom of my heart. And what happened, they let me out that day. My wife, my mom picked me up, and we riding back to her house, and I had this thought, y'all left me here for 30 days. Like I didn't know that, you know? And what happened is what the big book says, resentment is the number one offender. See, I recognized that, and I had a resentment, and next I said, pull over, and I started drinking that day. And my mom told me I couldn't live there with her, and so I ended up going to High Point. Now, I made a move from Rockingham Hamlet to Charleston. Now I'm making from Charleston, I'm going to High Point. So I'm trying to outrun my disease, and I thought I could. I thought all it took for me to change the place, the location, I was always going to be better. But when I got there, it lasted a couple of months. I was okay. But eventually, Mike went back to being Mike. And I started working up there, another third shift job, and I started drinking again. And my life became miserable and miserable. And by this time, I really wanted to stop drinking. I really did. I mean, it wasn't because I wanted to play sports. It wasn't because of my wife. I just wanted to stop drinking because it was killing me. I felt so bad from it. I'm the kind of guy, I started drinking on Friday, and I can't stop till Monday. And then I spend the rest of the week sick and weak and feeling bad. And so I really wanted to stop drinking. And because I wanted to have a good life, I wanted all the things to come with it. And so when I really decided to stop drinking, I couldn't. The habit was formed. Alcohol was my solution. And I couldn't stop. I really couldn't. It was time I would be going home on a Friday from work, and I would be coming out the liquor store, and I'd be wondering, how did I do this? What made me go into this liquor store again? I had no idea, no thought process of going to this liquor store. That mental twist, you know? Or I go all week saying, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it, and then Friday come, and the guy put the paycheck in my hand, and I say, just one. And then I'll be like, no, I ain't never just stopped at one. But I convinced myself this time it's going to be just one. And then I find myself a day or so later still drinking. And I will have those feelings that the book talks about, you know, the humiliation, you know, those feelings that come after having a drink, after we get drunk. And eventually my wife, she got to the point where she was really tired of it. And, you know, by then I found a really good job in High Point. I was doing really well. We was buying a home, had a couple of cars. Life was really good, and I wanted to quit now, really, to keep this job. I know I wasn't going to never find a job making that kind of money again. Here go a guy who barely finished school, and I'm making almost $40,000 a year, and this is 1986, working in a dye company, and here I am a supervisor. And life is good. And all I need to do is stop drinking. Don't drink. Go in there and do the job. I knew how to do it. What happened, I couldn't stop drinking. And so again, the DUIs was continuing to roll in, going to court. So my wife got fed up with it and she left. And the day she left, I came home and I seen her and her brother going in and out the house and putting stuff in the U-Haul. And I didn't feel bad. What I felt was relieved that because she's been bugging me about my drinking and stopped my drinking. Now, when she leaves, I can drink all I want. And I sat there and watched them load up this U-Haul, and I seen them leave. And when they left, I went and got a bottle, and I didn't stop drinking for the next five and a half months. I continued to drink. I drink that job away. Every unemployment check on Wednesday, I drank it away. It got so bad a couple of months after she left, the lights got cut off, the water got cut off. I had grass up to here. I wasn't cutting the grass. I wasn't washing. I wasn't eating proper. My wife is a hoarder. Thank God for that. Because she saved my life when she wasn't even there. She would hoard food. She would get stuff. And say, for instance, go to Walmart, you get these jelly packs and all that. She would get extra packs. And we had like drawers full of that stuff. And I'm getting $460 every week. And I must say this. It wasn't only alcohol. By then, it was some dry goods in my life by then. It was a combination. And I would get that $460 every week. And I would be broke in 2 days. And then for the rest of the week, I would have to walk around the house sucking jelly packs, just to get some kind of nourishment in my body. And, man, I had these things look like fish scales on my arm because I hadn't taken a bath. I would go over to Walmart in the middle of the night and have these 2-liter bottles, and I would fill them up with water. And that's what I would drink during the week. And I would go over there and I would try to steal food. And then I would go to either Hardee's or McDonald's late at night and ask for food, And I'm really at the bottom because I'm thinking, man, here I was a few years ago right here. And now I'm begging for food at nighttime. And really, now here go the crazy part. I got somewhere in there, I got some pride that, hell, I don't want to go over here and beg for food. I seen this guy go in the trash can behind one of the chicken places. I think it was Bojangles. And I got the bright idea that I could do that. I just, end of the night, they throw all the food away. I just go in the dumpster and get food. See, in my mind, I thought I was going to go and open the dumpster and it's going to be a 2-piece snack and roll in a box. I thought it was going to be like that, So I don't have to go in and beg for it. I go out there at the end of the night and I get it. And I remember the first time I slid that door back at Bojangles and all that food just sitting there mixed up and everything. I got to tell y'all, I got a weak stomach. And I was hungry, but after that, I was about to starve because my guts, everything I had in me was laying over here, and I couldn't reach in there to get a piece of chicken. I can't do it. I go back to begging. So my pride have killed me about all my life. So, but that's what I did, though. And not to say I didn't do it, because I got to the point where I could reach in there and get food. And I did. I did that. I reached in there and I got food. Now, that's after getting a check $460 on Wednesday. I blew it in 2 days. And by Friday or Saturday, I'm reaching in the garbage can to eat chicken. Lights out at the house. I'm sleeping in one window with the plastered up to the windows. I'm in one little area living by a candle and wouldn't open the door for nothing. My mother drove from Charleston all the way up to High Point to check on me because she knew I wasn't doing good. And I heard her out there. I wouldn't open the door. I was so embarrassed. But what eventually happened, my wife called my aunt. I had an aunt live up there. And she asked my aunt to come get me. She wanted to talk to me. Said she would call back about 7 o'clock that night. And so I was at my aunt's house, my aunt's house. I know y'all probably laughing. I say aunt, like crawling around, but aunt house. And but my wife called back, and she asked me how was I doing. And I said, I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. She said, you stopped drinking? I said, yep, I stopped drinking. She said, how about the house? House okay? You still got the house? Yeah, everything's good. And my aunt sitting there like just shaking her head. And then she said, well, I'm thinking about moving back home. And I drew a breath. I said, well, if you move back home, it's going to be some rules, and you're going to have to follow. Here I am eating out of a trash can. I'm going to make some rules up for somebody. Now, the crazy thing about it, she said, okay. So she come back home in 2 weeks, and by then, I had borrowed some money. My aunt wasn't giving her money. She wasn't that crazy. So she went and she paid my light bill. In High Point, light bill, water bill was all together. You pay one, everything's good. She helped me get some food back in the house. I had a brand new lawnmower under the house, and I used it to cut the grass. I burned it up trying to cut that grass. I mean, it was smoking, Jack. I mean, it was smoking. I patched the holes up in the walls. The one I couldn't patch up, I put pictures over. I had that house looking good and everything looking good. I finally shaved the beard. It was so long I couldn't use clippers. I had to use scissors, cut it down. I took a bath, and man, it seemed like it took for weeks to get that scent out my skin and everything. And by the time the 2 weeks was up for her to come home, I was in pretty good shape. I was looking halfway decent. Now, I tell you, I was still drinking a little bit at a time, but I wasn't to the point that I was before. And so, because I knew she was coming back, and I knew I had to get this thing right. And so, the night before she came home, some reason, at that time, I didn't know why I did it. I went out and I got a calendar. One of those calendars you hang on the wall will have the dates and months. And so what I did, I backtracked it all the way up to the time she left. Now, I don't know why. This is some internal instinctive stuff. And I marked off every day from the time she left. I put an X on that day, flipped the calendar over, go through that month. And I took that thing and I put it on the wall. And then I went back, lay down that night. And then the next day she came. She came to the house and I opened the door and she looked at me and she stood back. She was like, wow. She said, you do look good. You lost a lot of weight. And I'm thinking, if you don't eat for a couple months, you lose. I'm like, yeah, I've been on a diet. I'm doing real good. And so she come on in the house, she's looking around. She said, yeah, everything looked good. She said, yeah, I'm going to move back home. She said, but before I go, she had to come back down to Hammond. She said, before I go, she said, how did you stay sober? Boom, that calendar. I thought about it, instant. She said, come with me. So I took her in the bedroom. I said, you see this calendar on the wall right here? I said, every day I get up, I put an X on that day, and I stay sober one day at a time. And she believed it. She said, oh, that worked? I said, yeah, that worked. Now, I had never been to Alcoholics Anonymous. I never knew you guys stay sober a day at a time. It was just an instinctive lie that took over. Everything just worked perfect. So she came up, she moved in the house, and folks, I'm going to tell you, I love my wife, and I love life, but for 2 weeks, without a drink or anything in my system, I was miserable. I was at the point, this is serious, that I wanted to kill her, kill the little dog she brought back with her, kill the neighbors, kill myself. Somebody had to die, or I had to get drunk. And that was the truth. I was miserable. See, I could only go so long without some kind of relief. And so I had to play that thing out that I was sober. And I was miserable, man. I was miserable. So I get drunk and I come home and she asked me what happened. And so I told her, I said, all them years I told you was the problem for me drinking. I said, this proves it. I said, you come back home, I get drunk. And that really hurt her. The life just run out of her, and she believed it. So she put up with that crap about 2 months, and she left me again. But this time, she got a U-Haul. They loaded up. She got ready to leave. And when they got ready to drive off, I went and jumped in it. She said, where you going? I said, with you. She said, no, you're not. I'm running away from you. I said, nope, I'm going with you. And see, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to go back to eating out the trash can, no lights, no water, and I'm not letting my horses get away again. She got away one time. I wasn't letting her get away again. So I ended up moving with her to Rockingham, left that house, left everything, and thought that we would start all over again, life would be better. And for a little while, it was. And when I say a little while, 6 weeks, 2 months, about as long as I can kind of walk the line a little bit. So the whole process started over again, me drinking and staying out all night. Eventually, it got to the point where we started talking about getting some kind of help. And I don't know, to this day, I never asked my wife, I never asked Harold or anybody who was at the colony how I got there. I know what happened in 2 weeks. I was sitting in a class, and Harold said something to me, and he said, look at old Big Mike over there. He's full of fear. He's been afraid of everything all his life. And the kind of life I had led, you don't let men say that kind of stuff and not say or do something about it. And I went to slide it to my seat, and I realized he was telling me the truth. He was telling me the truth. I was full of fear all my life. I've been hiding behind liquor and other things. And so I slid back in that seat, and I finished the 2 weeks out, and I moved up here. Now, I don't know how I got to the colony, but I know when they told me I got relieved there, they said, if you go back to Rockingham, you're going to drink again. Most likely, you're going to die. back there in Rockingham. So I moved up here and I stayed at the Halfway House, and that was in 1996. I like to say that I stayed sober, but as I said before, I'm not good at following directions and walking the line on my own. And so what happened, it took me another 10 years of coming in here, getting drunk, going back out, coming in here, and I'm so grateful for you people. Y'all kept welcoming me back, and you kept my seat for me, and every time I would come back, you keep telling me to keep coming, and I would stay for 6 months, 9 months, and I go back, and part of the reason was I didn't adhere to the process. I didn't do the process. I wouldn't get a sponsor. I didn't try to work the steps. I didn't try to come to meetings to hear what was going on, what was to save my life. I always did things like get a job, get a big stack of money, go buy a new car, get some new tennis shoes, look good on the outside, and I think I feel good, and then I stay sober. None of that worked. I had to try everything for 10 years. I even tried one time, I walked in here, and this beautiful lady was in here. She was a red bone. And she had a waist about like that, and she had a nice figure eight. And I said, man, if I get that woman, I'm going to stay sober. She would change my life. I got that woman, I was drunk 2 months later. See, the problem was, I still had a wife at home, you know? And I'm trying to have a wife and a girlfriend. How did that work with a spiritual program? It didn't work well for me. I don't know about y'all guys, but it didn't work for me. So I tried those kind of things, and none of it saved my life. I just kept getting drunk over and over. So what eventually happened, 2006, my wife, again, had enough, and I had enough. And I was working out of town up in Aberdeen. I would go up there and stay the whole week, and then I would come back for the weekend. And so at this time, I had been out the program about a year at that time, and my wife said, we got to really make a decision about staying together. We got 2 daughters we got to raise. And so I decided to, leading up to that last time, what happened, my wife asked me to stay sober. My 2 daughters wanted me to stay sober to have Thanksgiving dinner, and I promised them I would. I promised them I would not drink. And I come home that Wednesday early, and they wasn't there. And so I told myself, well, if I go and get one, they won't know. But I was like, well, I promised them. I promised to stay sober. I promised to be a good father. I promised we're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner, and they were looking forward to having a feast, a whole table full of food. And because every year they've been going to their grandmother's house. They just wanted to stay home once and have dinner. And I promised them I would. And what happened, I talked myself into going to get one. And I stayed gone all that night, and then the next day I come home about 10 o'clock in the morning, which was Thanksgiving Day. My 2 daughters, my wife, sitting there, they crying. They got suitcases packed up, and they said, we're not staying here with you. We're going to Mama's house, and we'll be home Sunday. And just like before when she left me, I said, okay. Now she's gone, I can drink and do whatever. So I spent the rest of that day, Thursday, drinking and doing other things. And Thursday night, I run out. Thanksgiving Day, I run out of stuff to do, and didn't have no booze or nothing else. I needed something in my system, and I was about to go crazy because I had all this guilt, shame, remorse going on. I let my family down again, and I'm running through the house, and I can't find nothing to put in my system at 12 o'clock at night. And so what I did, I passed out, and when I woke up, I was stone sober. Now I really need something because I'm thinking how bad a father I am, how I let them girls down, and man, it was miserable. I really wanted something to take my mind away from it. And so I'm looking through the house, I go in the bathroom, I open the medicine cabinet, close it. I don't see anything, nothing. At this time, I was a stone wino. I needed something. And so I lay back down again. I think about the bathroom. I said, I seen rubbing alcohol in there. That's alcohol. I said, yeah, but I ain't going to drink that. And so I turned my head the other way, and I bounced back up, and I ran the bathroom, and I screwed that rubbing alcohol open, and I started drinking it. And man, I'm telling you, it was, thank God it was the white kind, and it was like gook, gook, gook. And man, it was just burning my throat. And then finally, when it hit my stomach, my esophagus, it was just burning, set me on fire. But I still was drinking it because I needed what was in that alcohol. I needed that effect. I got to have it. And so I drank half of that bottle of rubbing alcohol, screwed the top on, put it back, and in 10 minutes or so, I was like, yeah, they'll be back tomorrow, whenever, they'll be okay. Now, here I am. Like Bill said, hell, I ain't jumping from the buildings of finance, I go to the bar. And that's what he said, tomorrow will be another day, and that's what happened. Tomorrow will be another day. I'll figure it out. Now I'm okay. I ain't worried about them. I ain't disgusted with myself anymore. No shame, no guilt, because alcohol done removed it. So I wake up the next morning, and there that old thing is again. I need something. So I drank the other half of that rubbing alcohol. And Friday and Saturday that week, day after Thanksgiving, I stayed sick. Probably had alcohol poisoning. Saturday, same thing. Throwing my guts up. I couldn't swallow. Everything was just burnt up in here. And they finally come back home Sunday, and I was very sick. But my wife said, you go ahead and go out of town this week. So when you come back, said, we're really going to talk about this thing, and we may have to separate or whatever. And at this time, like I said, it's been years. I've been tired of drinking. I wanted to stop. And I went to the gym. I had this ideal. I go to the gym, Gold's Gym, start working out, get in shape, feel better. I stay sober, which I tried that many times before. Didn't work. And so I went to the Gold's Gym up there in Aberdeen. This guy come over to me. He said, can I talk to you? I said, yes, sir. And while I'm trying to work out, and I'm not really working out. I just drank rubbing alcohol 2 days prior. I ain't really working out. I'm just kind of like surviving. And he started telling me about when he was 19 years old, he was in Fife College, and he said he couldn't stop drinking. He went and got a case of beer. And said before he went to his dorm room, he set the beer down. He asked God to move the desire to drink, and he pulled out every one of them beers. And he said, I never had a drink since then. And he just kept talking to me a few more minutes, and he said, I got to go now. And he said, but by the way, he says, no coincidence we met here tonight. Now, see, I'm out of town working. Nobody knows me in this town. Nobody knew to tell this guy, go talk to Mike. He drank rubbing alcohol 2 days ago. This man came over to talk to me, and when he says no coincidence, I had that spiritual experience that God put that man in my life. And I went outside the door of that gym, and I looked up, and I did the same thing he said he'd done. I looked up and asked God to remove the desire to drink. And at that time, I truly felt I never was going to drink again. And I had that feeling, and it's still there now. But I know what I need to continue to do to keep it there. I spent about an hour outside that gym. I can't tell you all that happened. There was a lot of good spiritual stuff happened at night. I went back in, got my bag, went back to the apartment, and came home that week, and I was ready for anything to happen. If my wife said she was going to leave, I'm good for it. Whatever came down the pipe, I was okay. Because I was going to come out to AA that Friday night, which I did. I picked up a white chip, and I've been sober ever since. And only because of God and this program. My wife stayed. We ended up having a better relationship than we ever had before. I've been there raising my 2 daughters ever since. Matter of fact, I got one at the house now. She spent the day with me. I was so happy that she stayed with me rather than want to go off and have fun with her friends. She chose to stay with me, which is a big deal. I talk about my daughters a lot in meetings because I could see the program working through me, through them. When I came in here, my girls didn't want nothing to do with me. They didn't want to. I was daddy, but I didn't have a relationship with them. So I started mending those relationships with my wife and my daughters. I started being able to fit into the world and feel connected to the world through this process of Alcoholics Anonymous. Things started to happen like what Chad mentioned about the men's spiritual retreat. And I'll tell you my first experience with that was, y'all must be crazy. Think I'm going up in the mountains, laying in a bag. And old Frank over here said, Mike, you want to go to the men's retreat? I'm like, nah, man. I'm like, what is that anyhow? Well, we're going to go up in the mountains. We're going to pitch tents, and we're going to sleep in sleeping bags and cook campfire and eat and everything. He said, it's going to be fun. Didn't sound like fun to me. I was like, nah. And what eventually happened, he asked me again. I finally told him some crap like black people don't sleep outside in tents. I was serious. Listen, we have to. We sleep like we have to. We ain't like making a decision to sleep outside, But I end up doing that, and that has been a big part of my recovery. Every year, every 6 months, I look forward to going up there. I look forward to all the new guys that come up there, and I love it. Those are the kind of things. I get to be a part of people's families today. I get to sponsor people. And I don't say sponsor like that's some kind of award or trophy. It's a blessing to be asked, another man asks you, for me, to be in their life and watch their spiritual life grow. And I can go down the list of guys here right now. And my buddy back there, Jeremy back there, man, that's a big deal right there. 3 kids, 24 years old. Not to tell his story, but I would have crumbled like a cookie, buddy. I'm telling you. I'm so grateful to see that guy hold up and he walked a straight line. It's other men in this program. I get to see this thing work through, and I'm so grateful for that. And some of the things like having true friends. I never knew what being a true friend was about. I never knew how to depend on somebody or let somebody depend on me. I wasn't connected with anything in life. All I was connected with is my inner thoughts, and they all was negative about me. I knew nothing about being responsible or being a father or a friend. I knew none of those things. You guys taught me all these things today that I get to have. I get to share with other people in a way to live the day that's better than anything I ever had. Even on my worstest days, it's been some bad days sober. All of them hadn't been good. But early on, my sponsor taught me, he said, "How was your day?" And I said, I run down the list of all the bad things, and I said, "How was your day?" And he'd run down the list of some of the things happened to him. He said, "But you know what?" He said, "They were all good, even the bad stuff." And I couldn't comprehend that at the time. But I know what he's saying today. Even the bad things happen in my life today, I'm okay with it because I'm sober. And I have this inner peace about myself today, which is joy. I had to learn the difference between happiness and joy. Happiness I can buy. I can go up there and spend right now $100 on a pair of shoes and be happy for about 5-10 minutes or maybe tomorrow, but it's going to go away. That inner peace and joy, peace, that serenity right there, called joy. And when I get that, you can't take that away. No matter what happened, I'm okay. I got joy in my heart today. I have been blessed. And I'm grateful tonight. Kala, again, I want to thank you for asking me to come up here and share. My only aim tonight, as my sponsor told me, was to be helpful. And I hope I said something to help somebody. That was the only thing I was here to do tonight. And I'm grateful for being here. Thanks, guys.